Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Shamika and this is Check the Rhymes. I am super excited that you're here. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. Y'all, I am super excited because y'all know I love my old school artists, my legendary artists in the building today. I have singer, songwriter, producer, Glenn Jones, y'all. You know Glenn Jones, Show Me, I've Been Searching, and the list goes on and on. He's got new music out. We're going to talk about it. He's going to answer your fan questions and more, so stay tuned. You don't want to miss today's show. Welcome, Glenn Jones, to Check the Rhymes. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well. You know, it's been almost a decade since we have chatted.
Wow. Well, the good thing about it is that we both are still here to talk to one another.
That's very, very true. Very true. But I've gotten better at interviewing than I was in 2013.
Okay.
So you've got a new, is it an EP or is it an album that you've got out right now?
Well, actually, the album hasn't been released. I did the album. I finished the project a couple of years ago, but I've been releasing singles. You know, like the first single I released was a song called Love by Design, which was a duet with me and Regina Bell. Then I released another song that featured this great jazz guitar player. I'm having one of those moments now. Nick Leon. I'm sorry, Nick Leon.
Okay.
Yeah. And then after that, I released another single called Trust in Me. Was a song that I wrote, you know, very inspirational kind of song that I did a duet with Genovia Jeter, you know, is my wife. And now I have a single called Family Time. And this song features my niece, Iana Crawley. She is actually Sunday's Best 2009 winner. Yeah. She's an amazing singer. She's been singing on my records ever since she was, a youngster, in her teens. And she's blossomed to, just a great artist, amazing singer. So that's the new single, and it's a good time for it because it's the holidays. It's, it's, Thanksgiving and Christmas. So it's all about family anyway.
So what does that process look like when you are recording with, whether it's your niece or your wife? Because, it's got to be different recording with family versus someone that's not around you a lot.
Yeah. Well, I guess one of the main things is that, they will tell you the truth, It's like, no, you got to do that again. Yeah, I know that's thing, but I know you can do better than that, So we always have had that kind of relationship because we all want the project to be the best that it can be.
Yeah, that's great. So you mentioned working with Regina Bell. What was that like?
It's great. I've known Regina for a long time. I've known her at least 30 years or more. Mm-hmm. And this wasn't the first time we collaborated.
Right.
We did a duet, I believe that was back in 2004, called a song called Now On, which is a beautiful song. A lot of people consider it as being a wedding song. Mm-hmm. And I've known her brother, Bernard, who recently passed. I guess Bernard passed a couple of months ago. Mm-hmm. But he was my collaborator on I've Been Searching. He and I wrote I've Been Searching together. We wrote another great song called In You. We wrote a song called Call Me. And Bernard was Teddy Riley's right-hand man. He was the guy that co-wrote with Teddy on Remember the Time for Michael Jackson. So we've always been kind of, in a family group. And, I've even toured with Regina. First time I went to South Africa, I toured with her and Phil Perry. So Regina is a great person. She's an amazing artist, amazing businesswoman, and she's like my sister.
Yeah, I love that she's been getting a lot more love lately because Miss Holla, I don't know if you have seen her, the 97-year-old woman on social media, where she's been singing Regina Bell songs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So she's been, I feel like as she's been, and she sings like different artist songs, just kind of I think just as it comes to her, and it's just so cool to watch because then the younger people that are watching are like, well, wait, what's this song? And then they go run to go search for it. So
Wow, 97 years old, huh?
she's a pistol. You have to look her up. She's
That's
on
amazing.
Facebook and YouTube. She's I think her name on there is Lottery and Frappes.
Okay, well, I'm about to start a new Facebook page because I want everybody to know that my page was severely hacked,
Oh no.
and I think it's gotten to the point where all you see is boxing matches on there, and technology is great, man, but everybody's out here, man, doing all kind of terrible stuff,
Yeah.
hacking, whether it's hacking your Facebook page or trying to hack your bank account, that kind of stuff. So,
Mhm.
but we're starting a new page for myself. I'm still on Instagram at Real Glenn Jones, so
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
I'm so upset that you were in Charlotte, North Carolina last week and I missed it.
Woo! Yeah, you missed it. The show was amazing. I was there with Alexander O'Neill
Yes.
and Sherelle. It was an amazing show. Amazing
Yeah,
show.
I saw some pictures and I was like, dang it. But I was sick, so I couldn't come.
Oh, yeah.
That means y'all got to come back. That's all that means. You got to come back.
Hey, I ain't never mad about coming back. We do that.
You also worked with one of my favorites, Chuckii Booker.
Woo,
Tell me
man,
about that.
that guy is amazing. Sometimes people don't really understand and get his depth.
Right.
This guy's like Prince was.
Uh-huh.
Chuckii is he plays every instrument in the world, and
Yeah.
he's an amazing singer, writer, producer. He does it all. And Chuckii is actually the guy that produced uh, my new record, Family Time.
Hmm.
And it was written by a guy named James Day. James Day is the same guy that wrote my first single, Love by Design, which I released with Regina. And
Right.
that song went #1 in Billboard on the smooth jazz vocal chart.
Hmm.
Uh, but Chuckii, we've talked from time to time over the years because we used to be on the same label. I was on Atlantic Records at one time, and
Right.
so was he. And I found out through talking to him that his mother was a big fan of mine. So when I needed some assistance on this new record, I called him and asked him. I said, "Man, if you don't if you don't produce my record, I'm gonna call your mama and tell her." He died laughing, but he did such an amazing job, and I really appreciate him.
Yeah, I agree. I think that people don't realize just how talented he is. I think some people are like, oh, he just had this song. And it's like, no, no, no. He's got a long list of receipts.
Yeah, well, I mean, he did the Janet Jackson, gig. He was the
Yeah.
MD for her, and I think he's currently with Lionel Richie still.
Yep. Yeah, that's
And
where
he's
I saw
produced
it
so
on
many,
vinyl.
yeah, produced so many great people, and not only that, he's a nice guy. He's a nice man.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I am also curious. So, it's so funny. Before this call, I was sitting here and I was like, I really do sit here singing some of your songs as I'm like working or I'm listening to it. Like, and
Yeah,
I need to get, so I have a vinyl collection and I'm like, I have not been able to find some
man.
of the songs of yours that I want on vinyl.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You're lucky. I found out that you know there's a big demand for vinyl over in the UK.
Yeah.
They love it over there, and I've gone over there and done some shows. And after the show, you do the meet and greet, and people come up to me for me to sign these albums,
Yeah.
and they're like albums that I've never seen before. They've taken pictures from other, just random pictures, shots of me,
Yeah.
and they
Wow.
just compile the album. And all of these songs that I've done over the years. But I love, I love vinyl. I love the analog, the
Yeah.
snap, crackle, and pop
Yes. Yes.
of analog. So that's great. You're lucky that you got that kind of collection.
Yeah. And what my dad doesn't know is I'm finna take his
Yeah,
and to
yeah.
mine. So
Look at you.
your albums are probably in his collection.
Right, 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 right.
So, mentioning going over to the UK, I've talked to several artists that have been, had a lengthy career just like yourself, and they always mention that they get more love over there than they do here at home. Do you agree?
I agree absolutely, 100%. I think that people are more of music enthusiasts over there. They take the time to study and look into the whole process of creating a project. Who who wrote the song, who produced it, who's singing the background vocals, who the players are on the records. They're like musical historians, and they do make you feel great. I think sometimes here in the United States, I think that we got so much of everything until we are constantly looking for the next thing, the next thing,
Yeah.
the next thing. But over there, they don't look at, age or demographics. They look at the talent, the quality of the gift, the level of the gift.
Mm-hmm.
They appreciate that as opposed to what the new visual thing is.
Right, right. I've noticed that. I even when I have been online looking for vinyl, a lot of it says it's coming from overseas.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so I noticed that. And speaking of the way things are now, what would you say is the biggest difference in from when you started out in the industry? Because you started pretty young until up until now. What would you say? Like maybe a couple of different answers for that, but like what would you say is the biggest difference or change?
Well, one difference is anybody can put out a record now.
True.
That's the main difference.
It doesn't have to be good.
It don't have to
Apparently.
be good. Everything is independent. Everybody is, doing, projects. And, the good thing about back in the day was that you had to meet a certain standard,
Yes.
you know, because these labels, they were the bank. They were the
Mm-hmm.
machinery. They're spending their money to market and promote records. So it had to be in line with what their standards were. And I think back in those days, everything was sound a little more original. It was, everything was distinctive. It's like, you knew Marvin Gaye from Teddy Pendergrass,
Right.
Peter Bryson you know, uh, from Bobby Womack. It was just a different thing. Everybody had found their own path. It seemed like we got on this path of just creating, this cookie cutter type music. It's
Yeah.
like, it's all about the trends in music. It's not about that originality. And I know that you have to always be mindful of what's happening in the industry
Mm-hmm.
because there are certain things that change that you have to adapt to, but still you were able to still keep your musical integrity,
Right.
and it's different now.
And I saw on social media where someone had posted, it was a picture of the Supremes, and they were saying we need to get back to that with artist development.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, I guess I totally forgot that because that has gone out the window, I think,
Yeah.
like recently, well, more than recently, but and so quickly someone can just catapult to like star status because maybe it's some kind of, like you said, it's a trend, and
Yeah.
then we may not hear from them again. And so I often wonder, though, say in 25 years, who are the legends from today going to be?
That's a good question, because it is about longevity. You know, most of the time when I'm riding in my car or my truck, I've got my station tuned to satellite radio. So
Mm-hmm.
I can choose, what decade,
Yeah.
whatever I want to listen to, what genre I want to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's going to be, it's going to be very musical. It's like, for me, my favorite time of music was the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s.
Yes.
I know some great music in the 2000s too, but to me, back then, people took the time to really create and
Mm-hmm.
like, create great melodies and great lyrics and do great storytelling. Yes. And a lot of the music now, you don't even know what the story is. You know,
exactly.
I mean, you know, if the beat feels good, you know, and you get a nice little rhythm that you're singing with, you know, whatever, then that's what's happening. But back then, you know, it took you on a journey, on a ride, you know. You know, you got the story from beginning to end, and you don't get that a lot of times now.
Right. And actually, I'm going to jump to my fan questions because there's a question that kind of fits what we're talking about. One person wanted to know, like, how do you feel about, like, they use the Isley Brothers as an example, but and yourself, with artists that have the longevity, like, what is the secret to thriving in today's, like, musical climate?
I think the secret is staying true to yourself. Mm-hmm. I think doing the best records that you can possibly do.
Yes.
You know, doing, you know, music with substance and content. You know, it's about that, you know, which the Isleys and so many other artists have always done, you know. And even if I do a record that, you know, everybody might not like or they might not feel it, but still there's a certain level of quality that I try to maintain, you know, even vocally. You know what I'm saying? I mean, my thing go out, I'm like, I gotta keep this tight.
Yeah.
You know, I don't need no auto tune to fix what I do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, this is 100, you know, organic, natural, you know, and a lot of times, you know, that's the difference between those kind of artists playing live and an artist like myself or the Isley Brothers playing live, because people want to hear, you know, live what they heard on the recording. And a lot of times these artists can't deliver that. And I'm not being bragging or boastful about that. I'm just being real. And I'm giving, you know, thanks to God for allowing me to still be able to do that at this point of my career.
Yeah. I think, and I just thought about one of the Isley Brothers song on their new album, because I think Ron is trying to rap, and I was like, what is he doing? We're not used to
Don't do it, Ron. Don't do it.
Right. But then I find that it's a little catchy, but I think he's just trying to reach a different audience.
Yeah. Well, you know, I'm going to stay in my lane, you know, although the Isleys have always been the cornerstone of R&B. They've been classic. I mean, I have loved their sound since the first time I heard it when I was a youngster. And that's what I'm talking about. They have their own niche, you know. Right. I mean, they have an original sound, and there are people that come up listening to them that try to emulate them, and that's a good thing.
Yeah. Speaking of, I wanted to ask you about this group that I heard of called the Modulations.
Yeah. It's my that was in my early days, my hometown group. I sang gospel, you know, most of my life, you know, up until I was, when I got around, actually I started the Modulations when I was about 14, 15.
Oh, wow.
And
okay.
because I'm from Jacksonville, Florida. And it was a group of young guys. All of us, you know, went to church together. We all grew up together. We knew one another. And we put a group together and just started trying to sing. And, you know, I learned how to play guitar, and I started writing songs when I was about 14, 15 years old. And I kept doing that. And at the time, I had two older brothers who would, you know, take us on the road, you know, take us different places. You know, they would drive us because we were like, you know, youngsters. Right. And they would take us to different places, different cities and stuff, and let us perform. And, you know, it was a great time because I was really discovering, you know, my ability as a songwriter and as an artist. And we ended up recording 2 albums. I met the Reverend James Cleveland, and it was a gospel label called Savoy Records. And he heard me sing, and he heard some of the songs that I had written. So he took me in the studio out in LA. He took me into Ray Charles's studio. Ray Charles at the time had a studio in LA, and I recorded my first album there, and did a couple of duets with Reverend Cleveland on the album, and then I ended up doing a second project, which I wrote all those songs on it. You know, pretty much produced it. I mean, the guy who was supposed to be the staff or company producer, you know, he got credit for it, but that I produced that record, you know, and it was it has amazed me because after all these years, people are coming to me saying, "Oh, I love that record on the modulations. I was in France and I was in Japan and other places, and they knew who that group was, and that was the days." Those were the days of vinyl, you know. Those records, those were records, you know, the vinyl records, and it's lasted through you know, through the years. And actually, I intend on recording a live gospel album soon, and a lot of those, those songs, I'm going to take them and rework them and record them again.
Oh, I can't wait to hear that. And I just thought about that. Like, I think that's another thing that's missing today is, you know, like you started in the church. A lot of singers started in the church, but now I'm like, everybody's a heathen. They don't go to church or they watch
Hey, look, if it was good enough for the Queen of Soul, it's good enough for me. If it's good enough for Whitney Houston, it's good enough for me. JoJo and Casey and JoJo.
Yes.
I could go on and on. I'm sure Fantasia, you know, so many artists, you know, have that background.
Yeah, and you can tell. Just, woo, all of y'all can sing. Y'all can sing.
That's what it's about.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and go back to the fan questions. So these are people that submitted these questions on Twitter, and they're huge fans. And we were actually I shared I think it was a live performance. I don't know where the performance was, but you were performing I've Been Searching, and everybody's like, "Oh, that's the jam. That's a classic." So I was like, "All right, send in y'all's questions."
that had to be probably overseas and in Europe somewhere, because people over here, I don't think they really remember that song or they appreciate it the way they should. But over in the UK, that's like a national anthem.
I'm like, what? I need to go over there then.
Yeah, take a trip.
I'm like, that song, I love that song, and Show Me. Like, I could go on and on, but yeah, like that's, So anyway, the questions. Someone wanted to know, if you had the opportunity to work with someone dead or alive, who would it be?
Well, one thing that I do regret is never recording a record with Aretha Franklin, because I worked with her. You know, she was such an inspiration to me, you know, and she inspired me so much. She was incredible. And I would do shows with her, but I regret that we never went in the studio to do a record. She would be one of the main ones that I would do a record with. I would have loved to have done a record with Whitney Houston.
Oh yeah. So how was Aretha? You know, you hear so many stories about, like, you know, about her personality. How was she working with her?
She was a diva, you know. I mean, hey, but look,
right to be.
Yeah, she was a diva, but hey, I was a little guy from Jacksonville, Florida, and ever since I was a youngster, you know, and even though I was singing gospel, you know, when she recorded that live gospel album with Amazing Grace and Oh Mary Don't You Weep and all those great songs that she did some recording with Reverend James Cleveland, she was killing.
Yeah.
And never in my mind would I think that one day I'm gonna grow up and I'm gonna be standing on a stage with this lady, you know, dressed in a tux, you know, with a 20-piece orchestra at Radio City or Caesar's Palace, you know, with her. And it was just surreal. It was amazing. And even when I listen to her music now, the soul and the depth of her music, it just moves me, man. It's like there will never be another Aretha Franklin.
Right. Yeah. Ooh, yeah. She is definitely missed for sure. Someone wanted to know, how did you feel about the Eternals remake of your song "Stay"?
It was cool. I thought it was very complimentary, I mean, to see them do that. Stay was a good record for me because it was in top 5. It was a number 5 record on Billboard chart. So it was a hit for me, but to hear somebody else's interpretation, it was cool. And I work with this guy, Mark Stevens. Mark Stevens is Shaka's brother, a younger brother, and his partner, Bobby Kazuri. And when they brought that record, a lot of people say, man, are you going to do that kind of record? Because people were always used to me doing these ballads that were very melodic, and, they couldn't get to the essence, to the funk of it. And someone told me one time that Eddie Levert had mentioned something when he first heard that record, heard me doing it. Like, I don't know, But from what I was told, this secondhand information, as he got chances to listen to the record a little more and the record started moving up the chart, he ended up saying, well, I understand why Glenn did that record. But it was a lot of fun, and that was around the time I first met Dave Hollister. I got Dave Hollister singing background vocals on that record.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I just met Dave, and Mark Stevens, Shaka's brother, sang on it, and it was a good record for me because, like I said, people were so used to me having these ballads, so many ballads, But what they don't know is that in my early recording days, a lot of the music I did on my first couple of projects were like, up-tempo dance records, because that's when I was working with Leon Silvers. He did his thing on a lot of that stuff. And actually the people over, once again, over in the UK, over in Europe, that's what they want to hear when I go over there. Like my main, my main standards, Show Me and I've been searching with them. They like that stuff, but they like when I do those B-side songs.
Yeah. Every time you mention this, I'm like, I need to go overseas. I need to go to a concert overseas.
Hey, look, now, let me tell you one thing about those people. We have gotten spoiled. We go out to see artists and hear music. We want to sit, in concert mode,
right.
Plush, comfortable chairs. Over there, no chairs. The floors are empty pretty much. Wow. And they dance from the beginning to the end of your show. They like to party over there. And I'm not talking about young people. I'm talking people, in my bracket, in my demographic. Like, wow, man, y'all ought to be tired. But they love the music just that much.
They took their nap before they came out. They had to.
They certainly did. They certainly did.
So another question is, they wanted to know, which we kind of already talked about, but they wanted to specifically know about collaborating with your wife, because you two make great music together. So how does that even come up? Are you just like, we should do this song? Or does she say, I'm going to be on this song? Like, how does that work?
No, I mean, a lot of times when I write a song or I come across a song, I can hear it. I know who's supposed to be singing on it, and I know what she'll do with it. It's just like when Regina Bell and I did Love by Design, all I could hear was her in my mind. And actually the songwriter, James Day, he felt the same way, and he asked me to send it to her. I sent it to her. She loved it. But because I write, a lot of stuff that I do, Genovia's her approach to a song is already in my head.
Right.
And particularly if I'm writing it as a duet,
Mm-hmm.
and I know she's gonna kill it,
Right. Yeah.
so it's an easy process.
I love that. I love that. Someone wanted to know, which, let's see, I have these written down all kind of crazy, so I'm like, let me see if I can read my own writing.
Hey,
And I actually think I asked you this in 2013, so I'm curious to see what your answer is going to be, if it's the same or different. What your favorite Glenn Jones song is?
I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna give you the same answer because sometimes over the years
Uh-huh.
you kind of forget about stuff that you recorded, and you might get into a mood or a mode where you listen to some of your old stuff. I don't do that often, but sometimes I go back and I'm like rediscovering things. Like, wow, that's
Yeah.
I'm hard on myself. I'm my worst critic. I mean, sometimes I can listen to myself and I hate it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that might sound, yeah, sometimes I definitely don't like, the way I sound sometimes. And I'm like, okay, I could have come with this tone. I could have sung it a different way or this or that. You always, kind of, question yourself. But when it comes down to, you know, the best song, I think I did a song called "In You"
Okay.
that to me is one of my best songs. I mean, to me that song is timeless,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I have quite a few songs that are timeless.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate that a lot of the B songs
Mm-hmm.
people never get a chance to hear them because sometimes the B songs are the better songs. So I have a friend named Leonard, and he calls me Soul Preacher, and he knows all my music. He's an amazing singer himself, and he plays saxophone. He plays with Peebo Bryson, and he's always sending me one of my older songs. Saying, "Man, Soul Preacher, man, this joint here." And he said, "Man, you ought to do an album. You ought to do an album called The B-Side of Soul."
Oh,
You
yeah,
know,
I like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do
So
it,
I've been thinking,
please.
yeah, I've been thinking about that, and possibly doing, maybe a couple of songs on that record with him, because he's
Mhm.
an amazing, amazing artist in his own right.
I'm going to read you what your answer was in 2013. You said, well, when I asked you, you said, how you going to do this to me? you
Oh
said,
man,
you said, I've done a lot of records and songs and people don't realize just how many I have recorded. But I do know that I recorded a song on my first project. It was an EP called Thank You for the Love, and it's one of my favorite songs.
true that, true that. That's the song that I dedicated to my father, to my dad.
Mhm.
That was the first time I had ever cut a record, and got the chance to come into one of my recording sessions
Mhm.
and see all of these string players and harps and everything. It was like dream come true. In New York. And that is an amazing record. It is.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I was sitting here like, is he going to say the same thing? But no. Yeah, and so I had the interview sitting right here, so I could just pull it back up. But one of
Uh,
the things from that same interview, and I want you to tell this story because I loved when you were telling me the story about when you went on Soul Train.
when I went on Soul Train,
Yeah, do you remember the story?
let me see.
There was
Um,
a certain artist there named Prince that was
oh,
also
Prince,
there.
when he took forever, and I was sitting in the green room waiting to go on to do my little part, my little couple of songs. And they said, okay, well, you chill. Prince is going to do his thing, and then you can come up. And this dude took like hours, man. Hey, look, I was grateful and excited just to be there because I'm
Yeah,
like, the purple one, that,
right.
you know, and I always respected him so much. I respected him because he took and infused everything in his music.
Yes.
I could even hear the gospel in
Mm-hmm.
his music, the quartet and the traditional gospel in his music. And then it was funky and it was rock and roll. It was everything. But
Yeah.
yeah, Yeah, it was Prince.
Yeah. So when you finally got your chance to perform, were you just kind of like, I've been sitting
Oh man,
for hours?
hey, come on, let's do this. Let's. But hey, you know what? I was honored to even be there at the same time that he was.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he was I don't mean no harm, but he walked in with this young lady. She was gorgeous, man. I'm like, okay, yeah, you are the prince. I bow to the prince. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So when does the album come out? It's called Love by Design as well.
Yeah, the album is entitled Love by Design, which, like I said, we've released a few singles from it, like over the past couple of years, with the pandemic
Right.
coming and, it's been really hard. And, you know, uh, I released those first three singles. Now, this is the fourth single
Hmm.
that I'm getting ready to release. And then the album is coming out in 23,
Okay.
probably around, I would say maybe in the second quarter. you
Okay.
know Record is great. It's a strong album. If you like what I've done in the past, you're gonna like this.
Hmm.
Work with some great people, like I said, Nick Coleon, Regina Bell, Zenobia Jeter, Iana Crawley, Kim Waters, Chuckii Booker, and another great producer who's on the project, who produced a lot of it, is this guy named Chris Davis. They call him Big Dog. He's kind of like the uh, guru of smooth jazz, you know.
Okay.
Yeah. The song that I did with Nick Corleone is called You and Me, which Nick passed a year or so ago. And when we recorded the record, I had never been in the same room with him. I wouldn't have known him if I saw him. But we had spoken on the phone, and he recorded his parts in Chicago, and I did mine in Connecticut. And then the summer right before he passed, I got a chance to meet him for the first time uh, 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 at this jazz festival up in Pennsylvania,
Hmm.
and he was such a nice guy, and he's just amazing on the record. So there's a wide variety of stuff on the album, and it's not just ballads. Uh, there's some funk on there. I mean, I just well, just buy the record, check
Yeah,
it out.
exactly. Just buy the record, y'all.
Yeah,
Are we gonna
yeah.
get? Because right now everybody's on Beyonce's neck. Like we need visuals. Are we gonna get visuals from you?
Yes, yeah,
Album.
you're gonna get visuals. Matter of fact, uh, for the for the single "Family Time," we're about to do the video for that.
Okay.
You know, because it's that kind of song. It's the kind of song that you know it's a it has a visual kind of message to it.
Hmm.
And it is about family. The way people used to. Families used to assemble and sit down and have dinner together and talk and discuss this and that and kind of know what's going on with each other instead of everybody being so enthralled in the whole, technical thing, your iPhones and all that stuff. Getting a chance to really just kind of, know what's going on with one another. And that's the kind of song that Family Time is. That's why I think it's a perfect song for this season.
Hmm. I can't wait to see the visuals and let everybody know again where they can find you on social media. I know you mentioned that you're starting a new Facebook page, but where they can find
Yes.
you, website, Instagram.
At Real Glenn Jones, excuse me, at Real Glenn Jones on on IG, Real Glenn Jones on Twitter, and then you can go to talentroomENT.com. That's the name of my company, and that's one thing I forgot to talk about is that
Oh yeah.
I started my own label, my own company, because you know, in these days, I've come to the point where I want to do the kind of records that I want to do, and I trust in myself. From a creative standpoint, from an A&R standpoint, and started a company called Talent Room Entertainment because when I was young, my mother used to always say, "Well, your talent will make room for you." So when I was trying to come up with a name for the label, my friend Tanya, she said, "Well, I've heard you tell the story so many times about how your mother told you your talent would make room for you.
Hmm.
So why don't you company, Talent Room Entertainment. So that's
I
what it
love
is.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. So are you looking for artists to work with, or because a lot
Yeah,
of people
you
are
know,
always trying to connect with someone that already has an
yeah.
established foundation in the business.
Well, you know what? Sometimes, and we do want to connect with artists, but sometimes because of the ability to get on social media and just lay it out like that, it's like sometimes any and everybody,
Yep.
who thinks they're an artist, they want to send you stuff and they know it's great. Uh, I'm looking for artists that have, you know, the potential and the gift
Mhm.
and just the overall attitude, because it's not just about talent either. It's
Yeah.
some people are exceptionally talented, but they don't, personality wise, they don't have their thing together. But they can, if there's somebody that's looking to try to hook up or get involved with me, musically speaking, they can send whatever they need to send to talentrooment.com.
Okay. Perfect. I'll make sure to put that in the description under on YouTube so that people can find the website easily without asking me 1,000 times, and I'll be like, "Did you watch the interview?"
Right.
I want to thank you so much, Glenn, for joining me on Check the Rhymes. We cannot let it be another 10 years before we talk again.
It won't because I got a new project and hopefully I've got several singles that will come from that, and the
Okay.
album will come. And I think that your interview skills spot on. I think
Thank
you did a
you.
great job. We were talking about 10 years ago. Uh, I have enjoyed this, so I would love to do an interview with you at any time.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome.